Hey guys, this is Joshua Harmon Sr., principal broker and owner of Harmon Real Estate Company, and we're back with another episode of Ask a Pro 479, but it's a little twist on this one. We're going to do a political edition, and our first guest is Mayor George McGill.
Good to be here.
Good to be here. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So this is the first time I've ever gotten a chance to meet Mayor McGill. He's been a big inspiration to me, not only because he's African American, but just the way he carries himself, first and foremost. One thing that you'll always hear about him, if you ask anyone, regardless of what their political beliefs are, he's a nice guy. That's the first thing people say.
Well, thank you. You're very kind to say that.
I appreciate it. So, didn't get to mention, but he is the first African American mayor in this region. I thought it was just Fort Smith, but I mean, I guess within how many miles do you think? You're the first.
Since maybe we had African American mayor in Mansfield, Arkansas, believe it or not, right down the road. But Mr. Fincher was a mayor down there for a couple of terms, small town right down the road from Fort Smith.
Okay.
But of a major city.
Okay.
I would be the first. Certainly, we have a good friend of mine, Mayor Frank Scott, is mayor of Little Rock now.
Okay.
So African American men serve in the two largest cities in the state of Arkansas, Little Rock and Fort Smith.
Yeah, it's such a blessing. You know, it's a big inspiration to me. As to my knowledge, being the first black principal broker in Fort Smith. And if I'm not the first one, I don't know of another one. We want to pay homage to people who come before us, but I know I'm the only one now. So to see somebody in your seat accomplish what you've accomplished, what you continue to do, it's a big inspiration. So tell me a little bit about your background. Just even from childhood, where do you come from? What's your background?
I was born and raised right here in Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Okay.
My lifespan covers a time when Jim Crow laws were still in place. I remember a time when we could not walk through the front door of a restaurant. It was legal for people to deny us entrance to a restaurant or any other public place because the laws were written. I didn't get full citizenship, I would say, until I graduated from high school. I never will forget the day when Lyndon Johnson signed the civil rights legislation that eliminated the discriminatory practices of denying people access to restaurants or any other public place, to restrooms. I had just graduated from high school, and it was an amazing time in our life to be full-fledged American citizens with access to everything.
Yeah. What was it like? Remember that? Do you remember that exact day when that happened? Because Lyndon Johnson, I mean, trailblazer, and he had some quotes where he would say, I know I probably lost the presidential seat for my party for the years to come. He knew the implications of what he was doing, and he still stepped out there, and that was the point of his, of his seat. That's what he wanted to accomplish. What was that day like when you found out?
That day was sort of surreal, to be honest with you, because all of a sudden we were free to go where we wanted to go. Keep in mind, up until then, we didn't have that luxury. We weren't full citizens. And a good friend and I, we decided, being young teenage guys, we decided to integrate as many places as we could find that we're in walking distance of where we live.
You wanted to test your boundaries a little bit?
They said,
to see if it was real.
We're going to be the first ones in here and here. And so we moved about in our neighborhood, things that were in walking distance. We walked in.
Mm-hmm.
And the unique thing about Fort Smith, there was never any public resistance to the new laws. People accepted that. People worked hard to make sure it was a smooth transition for people that were now going to have to accept people coming in, eating at lunch counters, or getting services in certain places. Transition for them, and also for African Americans. Now they were free to go in. The laws didn't change many minds. It took a time. It took a while for people to adopt the new law.
Yeah.
Yes, we could go in, but how acceptable will that be to that new proprietor? Now, would he treat you like he treats any other customer?
Yeah.
It took a while for people to begin to realize that it was not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So it was a very special time.
Yeah, for sure.
Special time.
And I know for sure that's amazing. I didn't know that about Fort Smith. because I knew in Little Rock, I do a lot of studying on history. I was a history minor. You know, there's some notable court cases in Little Rock to where they absolutely would not allow you in that school. They didn't care what the law was.
And now there were attempts not to integrate the schools. They did. People did go to court, but the courts ruled in our favor. So they had to integrate the schools. Again, even when the schools were integrated, there was still some resistance to the idea that all races and creeds and colors would be in the same classroom, attending the same basketball games and attending. But I had to give the leadership credit, the leadership in Fort Smith credit for their visionary thinking about the well-being of our city.
Yeah.
Fort Smith doesn't have any racial scars like Little Rock. Little Rock 9 and having the National Guard, having to escort children to school. We didn't have any of that. All the public places were integrated in a peaceful manner. As a matter of fact, my dad took his vacation Bible school kids to Creekmore Park for the first time. And it was a peaceful integration. There was no trouble, there were no bad words. He integrated that pool with children aged 10 years and less.
Wow.
And of course, they didn't have any idea of what the historic times they were in.
All
those kids realized they were just going swimming.
Yeah.
And so it was without incidents. The high school's coach at the time, and my dad and some other leaders in the community mapped out a strategy where there would be peaceful integration at Northside High School.
Yeah.
And what they did, they braided all the athletes that would start football practice before school started.
Yeah.
They braided those kids into a unit, and they felt like the masses of the students would follow their lead and how to treat one another and what it was going to be like. And I remember the press was there, and when the guys went to that first summer practice before school started and asked the coach at Northside, said, "Coach, what are you going to do now? You're going to have you're going to have black athletes, and you're going to have white athletes. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it?"
Yeah.
And Coach Bill Stansel, always short of words, he said, "All I can see is championship football." For the first time in my career, I get a chance to coach the very best athletes in Fort Smith.
That's
Not
awesome.
only the best white athletes, which he had coached in the past.
Yeah.
He said, "It's the dream of mine being to coach the very best athletes in Fort Smith." And after that first year, he molded that team into a nationally recognized football program. They won several state championships, had many guys take off to go to college under his leadership as a head coach. But with all of that happening, there was a smooth transition through the integration process.
Yeah, that's awesome. So even going back before then, you know, as a kid, I just want to figure out who was Mary McGill. How did he, you know, we know you as Mary McGill, but you started off just as one of those little kids.
Yeah, just started off
just a harmless little kid.
Just a harmless kid.
Yeah.
I was always an introvert, and I always wanted to make my own way. At the age of 14, I had 3 businesses.
What were they?
I had a shoe shine stand on Garrison Avenue. I had a lawn service, and I had a paper route.
Okay.
And I would hire my buddies to cut grass, and I would collect the money, and I would give them the lion's share of it.
Build a team.
We build a team. Same with the paper route. I do the collecting, they do the paper delivery, and I give them the lion's share of whatever it was.
That's
Same way with the shoe shine stand. I had a couple of guys that actually did the work. And I would give them the lion's share of whatever we made. And so, and always had, come from a large family. And so we had a strong work ethic, and a strong community service work ethic as well. Not only to get things, acquire things for ourselves, but to give back to our community. So the idea of service is deeply rooted in who I am.
So for those who don't know, what did your parents, what line of work were your parents in?
My dad was a minister.
Yeah.
And being an African American minister in those days, meant that you were working for nothing. You were working basically free.
Yeah.
And whatever money, the small monies they would give him, he would always give it back to the church. But my dad was able to take care of his family. He had a unique skill. My dad was a hide and fur grader. He could grade furs that trappers would get. He could grade cattle hides. So he had a unique talent. He could tell you the value of those items just by simply running his hands across it. And there was a lot of trapping in the area. People would trap fox, mink, along the Arkansas River. And he worked for a company, and he was the buyer of those fur items. And so he would buy those items, and oftentimes he would travel around Arkansas and Oklahoma to go to packing houses and buy the hides that came off the cattle that had been slaughtered. He'd buy them 500 and 600 at a time. So he had a unique skill for an African American back in those days.
That's pretty neat. So was he doing that on the side of being a minister? Was that his own business, or was he working for a company?
He worked for a gentleman who lived in Oklahoma City. He ran the operation here in Fort Smith.
Okay.
And but he was a minister, and he ran that business.
Yeah. So even as a child, you were able to see, your father, make a way for himself. As not only as a minister by giving back to his community, but also on the side figuring out a way to, keep food on the table.
In those days, as I think about my father and grandfather and men in the community when I was a youngster, all of those gentlemen had hand skills. Yeah. They could do things with their hands. They came along at a time nobody was going to hire them to manage anything or be the boss of anything. So they made good livings by having hand skills. Yeah. They were excellent plumbers. They were gardeners. They were chefs. They could do things with their hands, which made them in high demand. And they made family-sustaining livings by doing things with their hands. Yeah.
Well, they paved the way for guys like me because I don't do anything with my hands. All I do is run my mouth.
Yeah. And he paved the way for me too because I don't know how to do anything with my hands. Trust me. Push a pen, maybe. But because of the work they did with their hands, they were able to pay for my education without debt. And I'm always amazed at how they pulled that off. When I left the University of Arkansas, I had no college debt. My dad was able to do that. He made major sacrifices though. My dad always bought secondhand suits so he could buy his boys new suits. And he would always tell us, it's not what you have on or what you're wearing. What you're wearing is who's wearing it. That make people think it came from the most expensive store in town. So he says, how you carry yourself. And understand that you are not your clothing, you're not the car, you're not even your profession. You're much, much more than that because you're specially handmade by the Creator. So with that in mind, if you do certain things, you'll prosper. It doesn't matter what you do, you'll prosper. Yeah,
and he made a way for his children's children.
Sure, so absolutely.
That fabric, I can still see that in you now. You're not materialistic and you're not conceited. You took a meeting with us. It wasn't a hassle to get in contact with you.
I'm always delighted to meet young entrepreneurs, emerging leaders. It gives me a tremendous sense of hope to know that our city is going to be in good hands. That we'll have visionaries that believe in a bright future and know how to get us there. This interview does me more good than you because now I've met another young man in this city that tells me our city is going to be well because you're going to teach your children what you know. Absolutely. And then they're going to be models, role models for other kids that they go to school with. So the ripple effect of what you do is going to permeate this city in a good way. So
I appreciate it.
It's a delight to meet you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. So when you went to college, what was your major? What was your major at University of Arkansas?
I initially went off to major in biology.
Okay.
But I changed majors. I began to think about where would I most be needed. And I decided to go into education. Okay. And so I earned a degree in elementary ed. Really? I decided I want to get to the kids as soon as possible
Yes.
to begin to educate them and teach them some of the soft skills. And so I earned a degree in elementary ed,
Okay.
but ended up being distracted by the corporate world. And I took a position with the Arkansas Best Corporation out of college. Worked with them several years and then decided to go into business for myself.
Okay. Okay. And what was that first business? For those who don't know, I know.
I started and founded McGill Insurance and Financial Services
Okay.
here in Fort Smith, and built that business and ran it for 30 years.
Yeah.
And then sold that business sold that business in 1990.
Okay. Before I was born. I think my parents were just meeting in 1990.
Yeah,
You've already sold a successful business. And
Yeah.
what attracted you to that industry? What I call that is a need-based business.
Mhm.
Everybody needs insurance.
Mhm.
Everybody needs a place to stay.
Mhm.
Everybody needs a bite to eat. They need their shoes shined, things
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
What attracted you to that industry?
When I left Ark Best, I began to search for industries that were in transition. They started rethinking their businesses and
Uh-huh.
how can we grow and what will that look like in the future. And I had a couple of friends of mine who were involved in insurance, and I had conversations with them, and they convinced me that I would be pretty much on the ground level or the next level as it came to the insurance and financial services industry.
Mhm.
And I took a chance on that, and they were right. They were right.
That's awesome. And you see, and a lot of people may not understand what a successful exit means. This means you have to have your books in order. You have to be showing a profit, or nobody wants to buy your business.
Absolutely, yes. It's just like any other product. If I wanted to sell that business, I should be able to show somebody what that business looks like, the stability of that business,
Mhm.
the quality of the clientele that I represented,
Mhm.
and show them the kind of income I was making of my clients, how long my clients have stayed with me. And that's what made it attractive.
Yeah.
That I had a stable, strong business and a strong client base that I had cultivated over time to the point that 90% of my clients were my advocates.
Yeah. But in 1990, entrepreneurship was laughed at. It isn't as cool as it is now. When I say I'm starting a real estate company on Facebook, I get 300 likes because people, I mean, it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
You perceived as successful, but then you almost looked at it as a failure if you're an entrepreneur. From what I heard from my parents and people before me, what gave you the
You know, and I can appreciate that. All too often, you know, my parents told me the same thing. They encouraged me to go to college, get a good education, get a good job,
Yeah.
and do those things, and life will be well. And they were right, because they told me what they knew. They came along at a time when they didn't own their own businesses. So they told me what they knew. They told me the best. And then I began to realize that, what if I practice these skills for my business? And then you have to have the courage to take the step. You have to have the courage to step away from a regular paycheck and test your own skills and abilities in the marketplace. And so what I made up my mind to do was give myself the same amount of time that I gave that corporation.
Yeah.
And back then, when you're in management, you work a lot.
A lot.
And you work long hours when your team or your staff, they're gone home. You're still in the office. And many days you're in the office before they arrive, and you're working weekends and outside. What would happen if I gave myself that amount of time to run my own business? And began to do the calculation, and then made a determination of what that business would be and what the potential would be. And I settled on insurance and financial services.
You're a smart man. One thing I do, what I've learned so far, is that you don't do anything off the whim. You calculate, you think of the pros and cons, and you ultimately come up with a decision. A guy like myself, and people who know me in my audience, I just get up and do stuff.
The important thing is that you're getting up
Yeah.
and doing something.
Yeah. That's the hardest part.
You're getting up
Yeah.
and doing something. And then, I guarantee you, you're getting up with something positive in mind.
Yeah.
Something to better your family, your community, or serve somebody else. You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
There's a higher being that is going to protect what you're doing.
Yeah.
And sometimes we run across something we like. But if you're getting up every morning with the intent of looking for opportunities to do good for someone else and your family, you'll be covered. You'll be taken care of.
Yeah, I believe
You do
that
all
too.
the right things. I had one of the presidents I worked for. He said, George, what I want you to do is put your family first. Yes, you work for us, so that's a little bit different than what you normally hear. Companies want you to put them first.
Yeah.
He says, I want you to put your family first, yourself second, and put this company third on your list of priorities or things that you need to do. So make us third. And I asked a question, I said, why would you put it in that order? I said, I've never heard it in that order. Companies want them to be first and your family maybe second, third down.
Wherever it may fall.
Yeah. and he made sense. He said, if you love your family, you're gonna make sure you do all you can so your children can go to the best universities, the best colleges, and do the best. And you wanna make sure they have everything they need to be successful. And the same for your family. If you desire those things, you will work hard.
Mhm.
And if you work hard for them, then we're gonna be covered.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're in the sales and marketing business. We're gonna be taken care of.
Yeah, yeah.
If you put them first. So if you desire Harvard for your son, we know how much that costs.
Yeah.
If you desire that and you work hard enough so you can send him scholarships or not, we're gonna make some money. Because we know what it takes for him to get there.
100%.
If you make that money for him, we're gonna be fine.
Yeah, and it's a lot more now than it was then.
A lot more now than it is. A lot more now.
So after successfully exiting your insurance and financial services business, what was your first stint into politics? Because the way I understand it, you were retired for some time, enjoying that life.
Over a year, but my first foray into politics started during Bill Clinton's years.
Okay.
You can see the photograph right on this.
Let's see back there.
I was in business, and a good friend of mine called me up and said, my old professor is getting ready to get into politics, and he's trying to build a team. Would you be interested in helping us?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I was young, and my business was moving along quite successfully. And I said, I really don't have time for politics.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, you need to meet this guy. He's a nice guy. He's my old professor. I like him. He's going to go places. I said, well, for you, I'll do it. And he introduced me to Bill Clinton. And the rest is sort of history. I met him and liked him, and I agreed to help my friend with his campaign. And went on to serve as sort of a special advisor, traveled the country, when he on a presidential campaign. But prior to that, as governor, went on to serve in his administration. I was the chairman of the Arkansas Contractors Licensing Board.
Okay.
So every contractor's license during my tenure had my signature.
Okay.
Served on the Prevailing Wage Commission and served in many other capacities at the request of the governor. We became friends, and when he decided to run for president, he announced it to us, and we said, I don't know what our chances are of winning, but I'm on your team. Let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
Long story short, we ended up getting him in office to be president of the United States of America, and that was an awesome experience.
Yeah.
Awesome experiences even now, especially during his presidency. It's kind of cool to get a phone call from the White House.
Yeah.
They say the president wants to play golf Friday. Meet him at the country club. He never forgot us. And we remain good friends today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, I mean, when you got that first phone call to help some, college professor,
Mm-hmm.
did you ever have any idea that he would become?
God, no. I didn't care. It didn't bother me much. I was helping a friend.
Yeah.
I was helping a friend. I said, man, if you're in it and you really believe in this guy, I'll help you.
Yeah.
He said, if you take care of the third congressional district, take care of this side of the state. I said, I'll do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that this guy would become governor.
Yeah.
And certainly the farthest thing from my mind, this guy would end up being president of the United States. Matter of fact, when he announced to us, a small group, that he was thinking about running, first thing that went across my mind is there's no way. First of all, people can't identify Arkansas on a map,
Uh-huh.
and for sure they don't know who the governor is.
Uh-huh.
So nobody knows who you are. Didn't tell him that,
Yeah.
but he was confident, pretty confident, and he shared with us the reasons why he felt he should be president of the United States.
Yeah. So at what point did you believe that, this he's got something in him that isn't the norm?
I knew he was capable, but I didn't know if America was ready for a small Southern governor. He was unknown, and we were campaigning in Philadelphia once, and I saw the crowd gathered to hear him speak, and it was at that point I turned around and spoke to one of the guys on the team. I said, man, you know what? This guy could win. There's a possibility, there's a long shot he could win just by looking at the size of the crowd he's drawn today.
Yeah.
Large crowd. And that was the first time I had this feeling that he might pull this off.
Yeah.
And as we began to travel, the crowd began to get larger and larger. And we targeted the African American community around the country.
Yeah.
And African Americans began to get aboard with this guy, and began to believe in his message, believed in the campaign he was running. We played a vital role in the campaign.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other presidential campaign that has given African Americans as much authority, as much resources, and much latitude to run a grassroots campaign to turn out a record number of African American voters.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we were able to pull that off because that was his charge to us. Go turn out a record number of African American voters, and I may have a chance to win.
What did he see? Why did he care about what, the African American demographic? Why did he think that was going to be the demographic that was going to push him and propel him? In your opinion, because you may not know the inside and out of him, but just from your perspective.
Again, looking at numbers, he probably felt like we could turn out a larger number than had traditionally been voting.
Yeah.
And it would take a grassroots effort. It would take young men like yourself, young men like you, to be the faces of that new African American that believes in voting, believes in having fair chance, having equal rights and justice, that believes that change can and will be possible.
Yeah.
And our team was predominantly made up of young men, ages 19 to 22.
Wow. We
We made sure they were with us as we visited with political leaders around the country. We made sure young men had a chance to experience that.
Yeah.
We made sure they traveled with us. And many of those young men are doing extremely well now. One of them has his own consulting firm in D.C. Matter of fact, I had the privilege of serving with two of those young men in the Arkansas legislature, two young men that I helped groom when they were just 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
So it's been amazing journey.
That's awesome. Just to see people that you've groomed.
Yeah.
Even somebody like Bill Clinton that you've been able to be shoulder to shoulder with, and
Yeah.
see them all do great things.
Mm-hmm.
You just being able to experience that, and even today, like the two young men, seeing them grow into who they're supposed to be, that's pretty gratifying.
It is. Then you know your work is not in vain,
Yeah.
and you realize that they are watching you. You realize they are listening to the wisdom and knowledge you share with them.
Yeah.
And I don't try to craft them into me. what I do is I share with them the things that would be pertinent to any young man or young lady. Yeah. And then let them wrap those things around who they want to be.
Yeah.
And there's some awesome results that come out of that.
That's awesome.
So it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah.
It's been fun-filled, but it hasn't all been easy.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you consider hardships part of the equation.
Yeah.
The question is, how do you deal with it? You give it your best shot, accept failure as part of the growing and learning process, and you utilize those failures, and you analyze those failures. And it makes you better when you start moving forward again. And those pitfalls you don't step in anymore.
Yeah. Learn.
And then you share that. You prevent someone else from stepping into these things, and their path is a little bit smoother than yours.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's all for your good. The ups, the downs, and all that ends up being for your good.
Yeah. I like that. It's all for your good at the end.
Sure.
Positives and the negatives.
Well, that's where it's written.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's written in the book that way.
Yeah, for sure. So at what point did you say, hey, look, I'm going to really take this political thing serious? You've served with Bill Clinton. You've done all these great things. At this point, how old were you after you were done, I guess, serving with Bill Clinton and decided to do, House of Representatives and mayor and all that? So when do you think that all of that was a possibility? Because that's a big deal.
I've always been asked. I only help when I'm asked. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't come to your business and start giving you instructions and direction on how to run your business. But if you invite me to share some wisdom or knowledge or some experiences, I'm always delighted to do that. Yeah. Again, it could prevent you from stepping into a pit that I stepped into, or it could connect you with people that can help you. I'm always open to that, but I never go where I'm not invited. Yeah. That being said, I was asked by some leadership here in Fort Smith to consider running for the state legislature. Mm-hmm. And after careful consideration, thought, and prayer, I decided to do that. And so, I stepped out. Yeah.
Took that leap of faith.
And I was very fortunate in that I never had an opponent during my 3 terms in the Arkansas legislature.
They just knew.
I never had an opponent, which made moving about quite easy. But I had an opportunity to go to Little Rock and serve at the Capitol. An amazing experience. And maybe one day you'll get a chance to do that if you get an opportunity, or if you get that feeling and you want to get involved and make a difference. You can make a difference by serving in the public arena. Give you a good example. I served as chairman of the Aging Children, Youth, and Military Affairs Committee. That's a lot of topics.
It's a lot of
under one department.
Uh-huh.
But all of that's right down my alley.
Uh-huh.
I care about young people, I care about our senior citizens, and I care about military people. Mm-hmm. And so in that seat, I was able to start the conversation and start the early drafting of legislation that has created a much better foster care system. The governor gave us a few $1 million to hire more caseworkers to take care of foster care kids. During that time, able to get military retirement benefits are no longer taxable. We got that. So that attracts retiring military people to Arkansas. Yeah. If there's no tax on their benefits. So got that taken care of. Also initiated the conversation that gives young men and women free tuition if they give some time to the Air National Guard or Reserve. So if you serve in the Air National Guard Reserve, you can go to college for no cost. Wow. Real happy about that kind of stuff. Yeah. And was instrumental in a major piece of legislation the governor thought was major, and it is. The separation of the holidays of Martin Luther King and Robert E. Lee. For many, many, many years, Arkansas, Alabama, and Mississippi were the only states that celebrated these gentlemen's holiday on the same day.
Yeah.
That's confusing to young people.
Very.
Very confusing. How can you can't talk about these two men together.
They're so polarizing.
They're very polarizing.
Yeah.
Their visions, their ideas, their characteristics, their culture was completely different. So there was no way to have a conversation when you start talking about educating children. Yeah. And so the governor proposed legislation to separate those 2 days. Mm-hmm. January is a national holiday for Martin Luther King, and we would keep that and move Robert E. Lee's birthday to another time in the year. A lot of people didn't like that idea.
Yeah.
They didn't like that idea.
Yeah.
But I was able to speak to my colleagues about it and convince them that it was the right thing to do. And they voted in my favor. They voted in our favor. So we're no longer seen as one of those states that's not willing to change.
Yeah.
What's not good, certainly in appearance anyway.
Yeah.
So we separate those two holidays. And to me, that was probably the thing that was most gratifying, because that's something that they had been trying to do for a long time.
Yeah, you know, that was once the capital of the Confederacy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
all the history that we learn is we really take our time to learn our history. And to even think that those 2 days would be combined and that it would be any struggle to have those separated, it's like baffling to me. But like, what kind of objections did you come across? I mean, you don't have to say any names. What kind of objections did you have?
The primary objection, the way it came across, people were saying that we were tampering with their heritage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, Robert, yes, you're tampering with our heritage, with our lineage, with our forefathers,
Yeah.
our great-great-great-grandfather. That was not the intent to tamper or do anything to somebody's heritage.
Yeah.
What we were trying to do is create a situation where our children can be educated correctly.
Yeah.
Without confusion.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the argument I made. I said, it's not about your heritage. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Just like my heritage is what it is. Mm-hmm. You may have had a grandfather, a great-great-grandfather, who served in the Civil War. Mm-hmm. I said, my great-great-grandfather served in the Civil War as well.
Yeah.
So, but with that, I don't know his pain. I don't know I often wondered what happened to him when they announced that the war was over.
Yeah.
What his name? I'm named after him, by the way. His name was George.
Wow.
And I would ask the question, what did George do when they told him the war was over? He fought for you.
Yeah.
So what did he do? And I asked myself the question: did they give him a rifle? Did they give him a mule or a horse to travel on? Did they give him ration, clothing, or did they just say the war's over, you can go?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Uh-huh.
All I know is he found his way to Arkansas.
Uh-huh.
From Mississippi, found his way to Arkansas. And I can imagine what that travel was like.
Pretty rough.
It had to be rough.
Yeah.
And even though the war was declared over, the war was not over. Mm-hmm. In many people.
Yeah. Very dangerous path.
Does organizations like the Ku Klux Klan, to them the war was not over. Mm-hmm. And they terrorized and pillaged our African American settlements and all that. So I often wonder, what was his journey like?
Yeah.
But I didn't experience that.
Yeah.
And that was the point I was making to my colleagues. Let's not bear the pain of things that we really don't know about.
Yeah.
Let's think of what we want our state to look like from this point moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, I will tell my grandkids about the men and women in this chamber that I know. And some of you are on the opposite sides of this issue from me. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to tell them about you. I'm going to tell them I served with you and you were a great legislator. Mm-hmm. We served on the education committee together and we got some great work done. I said, that's the story I'll tell, because that's the one I know of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll let the educators educate the children when it comes to Robert E. Lee and the Civil War. Certainly I know about Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me about that. I was doing that time.
Uh-huh.
But let's let education take care of the historical truth about the Civil War and those that served and what happened. Everybody that fought on the Confederate side, a lot of them they were not interested in fighting. They wanted to be with their families. They wanted to farm their farms, but they were called to war. Yeah. And likewise. Yeah. And with that, after serving 3 years, some people forced me to ask me to come back home and consider running for mayor.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you. As we just celebrated Martin Luther King Day this past Monday. You know, that was last Monday. That was a big deal. You know,
sure, it's a big deal.
Yeah,
it's a big deal. His ideals of peace, his ideas of justice and equality. Those are things that we still debate about.
Yeah.
And push toward on a daily basis. I long for a time when I no longer sense racism. I long for a time, I hope it's in my time, that I get a sense that justice is justice.
Yeah.
For all.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. But I pray that one day, before I leave this earth, that I can travel anywhere in the United States, walk in and establish in the United States, and not feel a sense of racism or injustice or mistreatment.
Yeah.
I long for that. But in the meantime, we do what we can to make the place a better place.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, continue to make change along the way.
Yeah, and you live out your beliefs. You live out the belief of kindness. You live out the belief of service, and you don't have to tell people. They know. Yeah. It will come back to you. Yeah. People will say things to you. Say, man, I heard that he was a nice guy, and you'll hear those things said about yourself. They'll circle back to you. Yeah. Make sure the things, and this is just my opinion. I believe that as long as the things we tend to do are Christ-like, yeah, all will be well. Again, it's not about perfection. None of us are perfect. No. But as long as our tendencies are to simply be a good man, be a good father, be a good business owner, be a good volunteer, to be a good brother, or good, all of these things. Just your tendency is to be good and practice some fundamental stuff and yeah, being kind to people. Yeah. Things would have a tendency to work out for you.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Again, that's my opinion.
I agree.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's both of our opinions.
That's my opinion.
I agree.
And it's worked for me. It's worked for me because there's no way I would have ever dreamed that I would be captured in the photos you see behind me. The ones with President Bill Clinton, the other with President Bush, with Miss Obama. There's no way.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So I've had an amazing journey, and
it ain't over yet.
Every day things happen in an amazing way. When you keep your eyes and ears open, yeah, you see something else that gives you tremendous hope about our city, about our state, about our nation. Yeah. And we make a commitment to be a part of that. Yeah. By giving some of our spare time. Yeah. And I'm sure that sometimes that can be tough for a small business owner, yeah, to have spare time. But if you can carve out a little time to give somewhere else, it'll come back multiplied for you.
For sure. I believe in that.
It will.
So for you, you're at that point in your life, we'll get back to the story. You're a state rep. You've made some change in Little Rock and across the state of Arkansas. What gave you the audacity to think that you could be the first mayor, African American mayor, in over 200 years of history of Fort Smith? Who do you think you were to be able to be the first mayor, first African American mayor?
First of all, some people had to convince me that they wanted me to serve. It was not my idea.
Yeah.
Trust me, that was not my idea. Yeah. And I really challenged them said, why would you ask me to be the mayor? Why would you ask me to be the mayor of the second largest city in Arkansas? And they made points that made sense to me.
What were those points?
Number one, they said you had 6 years experience in the Arkansas legislature, and you worked your way up. However, you're the number 3 man down there in a majority body of Republicans, and you're serving as a Democrat. How did you work your way to the top like that? So something had to happen. And we know it had to be your ability to build relationships, your ability to listen with others, listen to others, and your ability to cooperate and collaborate with folks. That had to be the ticket.
Yeah. Well, all those things sound great. Listening to others, being able to build relationships. But that's still the fact. It had to take a lot of convincing for you to run for mayor. Like I said, it's never happened in the second largest city of Arkansas. This is in a small state. I mean,
yeah, and they said, look, if you bring those relationships you built at the state capitol will benefit us if you serve as mayor.
Yeah.
So now we get 2 for 1. You'll be the mayor, and you'll have connections at the state capitol that are invaluable.
Yeah.
You know the governor, you know all the decision makers at the state capitol. So when Fort Smith needs something, all you have to do is pick up the phone.
Make a phone call.
And somebody's going to respond.
Yeah.
That's the value of me being here and having those relationships in Little Rock.
Yeah.
And I'm always happy to do that.
Yeah.
It makes the work worth it when you can help.
Yeah.
It's about looking for opportunities to help people all day. That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, you're a strong man of faith, but even men with strong faith tend to have doubt sometimes. So along that way, did you have, this journey of becoming the mayor? Did you have any doubt that hey, this may not happen like this?
I'm a human being, and so what? And the mayor's race was the first time I've ever had any opponents.
Yeah.
And I would often ask the person, like me, is Fort Smith ready for such a significant change in the landscape? There's a different object out on the political landscape here. Yeah. Are you willing to allow this significant change, have this face represent you statewide and nationwide? And I was pleasantly surprised at the number of people that said, yes, we don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Because we know you.
Yeah.
We know the kind of business you ran. We know the service you gave to the nonprofits. We know what you did at the Boys and Girls Club. We know what you did for both human services. We know you are a servant of this city.
Yeah.
Why not you be the mayor? Why not you be the face of the city? You have a history and a track record of public service.
Yeah.
And most people are familiar with you.
Yeah.
And we would love for you to consider being the mayor. And I won by a landslide. Now that was surprising. I won in the primary. I didn't have to go to the general election.
Yeah.
I won enough votes in the primary that the decision was made then that the people of Fort Smith wanted me to be their mayor.
Yeah.
And it's been an amazing journey. People have been very kind, very supportive, and have been so willing to help in so many ways. I have people who call with advice on almost any subject matter. I can pick up the phone and get expert advice almost on any subject matter.
That's awesome.
And people are willing to offer their expertise and knowledge, simply because they believe in the direction our city is going.
Yeah.
And that's kind of neat to have that kind of support.
Yeah, having the support from the people.
Yeah, from the people. That at the end of the day, it's about the trust they have in you.
Yeah.
And when they trust you, when you trust someone, you're comfortable in their presence.
Yeah. All right, thank you for tuning in to our first Ask a Pro 479 political edition interview. Hopefully, we'll bring on more to you in the near future. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.